Libra, what's going on? This is your November 2022 astrology reading. I hope all is well with everybody. Thanks for coming to check out the channel. This is for Libra. Any placement of Libra can watch this. We all have Libra in our chart, but it might resonate more with Ascendant Sun or maybe even Moon, who knows. But just check it out, see if it resonates with you or somebody you know. If you need a personal, my information's in the box below the video. Now, Libra, we are in the middle of eclipse energy. We just had a major, well, a partial solar eclipse in sign of Scorpio on October 25th, just as we were coming out of Libra season. So that's your second house for Scorpio. You got the South Node there, Sun, Venus, and Mercury. And then the solar eclipse occurred there on the 25th. So a lot of activity in your second house. So since Scorpio deals with money, like money you get with other people, and you got Venus here, which is a money planet, and this is the house of money, your second house, this is your money making potential here. Some of you may see, a change in your money making situation. You may go from one money making situation to another, okay? But I do see that there's going to be some change here in that area. Now, this energy is going to transfer over to your third house in the middle of the month. So Venus is coming over to your third house in Sag on the 16th. Mercury's coming over on the 17th. The Sun's coming over on the 22nd. And then on the 23rd is the new moon in Sag. That's all going on in your third house after the middle of the month. So as all of these energies move into your third house, this is the house of your lifestyle choices. How you go about socializing, right? So some of you could be, reconnecting with people from your past, maybe people that you grew up with, people you may have known since you were, tiny children, toddlers. You may run into somebody that you may reconnect with, or you may find out that somebody maybe that you knew since you were a child passed away, or maybe a babysitter of yours, somebody who used to babysit you or babysit your children. Your fourth house also is where Pluto's going direct. Pluto went direct last month in the house of Capricorn, which is your fourth house. So some of you, I don't know if there's a change in the relationship between you and your mother or you and your father, but I do feel like there's a change. Maybe your mother and father are going through a separation or divorce. Or maybe they're getting back together. Or maybe you're deciding to get back with your child's mother or your child's father. Or maybe that's being introduced to you of getting back together. That could be the case. But not for everybody. Everything's not going to resonate with everybody. I feel like some of you are saying maybe you don't want to have any more children. Maybe you feel like you have enough. So some of you may be, definitely considering, where's Mars at for you? Some of you, I don't know if you're going to consider different means of birth control, but for some of you, you may not want children, or you're just considering what's the best method of birth control until you're ready to have children. Yeah, I feel like some of you may be considering, I don't know what the actual procedure is called, but a very cut and dry description of it would be, putting your eggs, taking your eggs and putting them to the side for a while, having a career, excuse me, and then coming back and having a baby when you're ready. Whatever that process is, but there's a process where women can do that. They can have their eggs put on hold. So I feel like somebody might be considering doing that. Somebody may work in that field, that area of expertise. This may be presented to somebody as a birth control option. Hmm. Now, as far as your routines and your patterns and things like that, I think you are starting to take a look at that and examine that, and you may be realizing, that maybe you were wasting a lot of time. I feel like for some of you, you may feel that way. You may look back like, yo, I wasted a lot of time. I was focused on some of the wrong things. So that might be something that you might be thinking about. But this season, this Scorpio season, with this eclipse energy, is great energy that you can use to help to remove any negative or toxic feelings about any past connections or past relationships that you had. Right? Maybe you left these relationships behind. Maybe you're no longer working at that job. Maybe you're no longer dealing with that individual or what have you, or that situation anymore. But it was very toxic and you moved away from it. But you still look back at it and it's still very painful. This is good energy right now in Scorpio season while we're in between these eclipse energies to, especially on November 8th, tap into, releasing any toxic or negative emotions tied to situations that you're having a hard time getting over, right? So maybe the emotional piece is what keeps you attached to the situation. So it's beneficial to at least attempt that, especially if you've moved on for a long period of time. You've mulled it over in your head. You don't know what the lessons are, or not that you don't know. You know what the lessons are, but you still can't figure it out. So that might be something to consider for somebody. Now, yeah, definitely changing your patterns and things like that. Taking better care of your health as well. For some of you, this is, recognizing that maybe you're overeating, okay, or you're an emotional eater. Um, that could be something that you're trying to get a grips on or get a hold on, or why you emotionally eat, or why you have a lot of a drug addiction, or why you have a sex addiction. So a lot of people are just basically grappling with their inner demons right now, and that's good because you're recognizing what they are. And now that you're recognizing what they are, the next step is okay, well, what triggers them? So that I can learn when to use that energy and how to use that energy. Instead of it letting it sneak up on you because you don't want to deal with it, and then it comes out in a way that's uncontrollable because you're trying to hold it back. You got to deal with the dark. So a lot of you are realizing that, and that's super dope. Now, this may, as a result, it may cause some issues in some of the connections and relationships that you have, where you may have been in relationships and tried to work these things out, but it just didn't work, and you just stayed and stayed, and it was just constant pain, right? I feel like some of you are realizing that you don't have to stay in that pain. You can come out. Some of you have maybe been feeling like, you know what, it's a pain where it's like it's a family member. I'm never really gonna ever get rid of this pain unless this family member and I no longer connect. But we're gonna always connect because we have mutual family through one another. But every time you run into this family member, it causes raw pain for you. So, you're trying to figure out ways of how to deal with that. Okay, look, I won't deal with this family member, or, I have to, accept this and let this go. Something like that. Some of you could be dealing with some things like that. Don't have to be that severe, but yeah, because in your eighth house, that's where the North Node is. That's where Taurus is. That's where Uranus in retrograde is. And that's where this full moon lunar eclipse is going to be. It's in your way of thinking, the psychology behind things. So I think you guys are going to be looking at that and you're going to be like, yo, I want peace. I'm going to do whatever is going to give me peace. And so I feel like that's what you're going to be aiming towards. And that's what you're going to be going through. And with your ninth house, the house of higher wisdom and the house of learning and experience, in this house, I feel like with Mars there in retrograde, it's going to be in retrograde it went in retrograde on October 30th. It's going to be there until January like 15th, 12th, something like that. So it's a long time that Mars is going to be in retrograde in Gemini, and this is your ninth house. So you have to be careful of negative talk, negative self talk, okay? You have to be careful of putting yourself in a position where you don't take the steps you need to take. You find excuses not to move where you need to go and not to do what you need to do, or you allow someone else's excuses to keep you, in a situation where you're not being treated fair and it's not healthy for you, but this person keeps coming up with excuses as to why they do it, or they'll lie and say, okay, let's figure something out, and then they go right back into their cycle. Like, you have to be careful with that, with people or with yourself, right? Why do you allow this to continue on? Is more so a question you may be asking if you're dealing with these types of situations. Um, but some of you may be experiencing writer's block. I feel that too if you're like a writer. Um, but you could either be experiencing it, or if you had writer's block for a while, that could break for you. I do feel that. I feel like you have to be careful, especially like I feel like in university settings, you're gonna be meeting people that have opposing views against you, or not against you. Well, it could be against you, but different than you. So I feel like they're gonna be people who are being introduced into environments like the military, college, where they're meeting people from different walks of life, people who have views that oppose theirs. So I feel like somebody is really experiencing that type of environment for the first time, going out into the world. Or some of you may have a child who's going to college or is at that age where they're branching out into a more diverse world, experiencing different types of cultures. Somebody could be going overseas, whether it's for military deployment, and I get that strongly, or if it's for, just somebody who wants to go to school overseas, or a particular program that they want to, I can't talk, a particular program that they want to take happens to be at a program that's overseas. But somebody could just be going for their higher degrees, is what I'm feeling too. They could be preparing for that, considering that. So yeah, that's what I'm getting generally for what could be going on with you, Virgo. I just feel like you guys are definitely looking back at what's been going on, looking at the way you looked at things, realizing that that was the way you looked at it then. Some of you could be dealing with some self-esteem issues, coming out of an energy of having low self-esteem, looking at the situations that you were in because of that, and learning from that, and then putting yourself in better situations, and in better circumstances because of those lessons. So that's super dope. And if that's not you, it could be somebody that's around you who may be going through this change, where they are leaving different types of relationships behind that are, where they, you're just using people you're around you. I can't even tell. People around you are using you, taking advantage of you. And now you're in a position where you may be putting your foot down and saying, okay, I've had enough. And these people may be, some of them may be reacting differently. Some of them could be hostile towards you. So you do need to be careful of that. Some of you may have to call the law on people. You got to be careful. Some of you may think, oh, they just talking trash, or you need to be careful talking trash to people, especially if you're leaving someone behind. Like, don't, you may be feeling like you want revenge and you want to stick it to them, but now is not the season for that. People are going to really take shit seriously, and you don't want a worst case scenario going on here when you could have just avoided it by watching your tongue, biting your tongue, not because I feel like some of you may get into an argument with someone, because someone may have an issue with the fact that you're growing, you're changing, so you may not want to deal with them anymore. So they may have a funny way of dealing with that, or disrespectful, trying to be disrespectful to you and what you feel, because they don't respect your feelings in the first place. So, just be careful of that and getting yourself caught up in unnecessary arguments. But other than that, the change, it looks like, when Scorpio comes around, a lot of people hate it. They call it toxic. But usually what happens is the situation gets so toxic because you don't move and you don't have any control over it. That's why it becomes toxic. But at some point, there's going to be a time where the tides will turn in your favor and you will be able to make change. And you'll just have to look for those opportunities. And I feel like that's what some of you are recognizing here. But definitely positivity, moving on. There's definitely growth here, because your second and third houses have to do with, the growth of the way you look at things, the way you see things, how you process things, the lifestyle choices you make, why you make those choices, what's important to you, in reference to friendships. And I get a lot of people pleasing energy is going away. You're not as in a position to people please as much as you were before. You've learned now your value and your worth. So you know that if people don't treat you right, they don't deserve to be in your life. A lot of you are realizing that now, where before you just had the energy of, okay, well, I know I can make you like me, and I'm the nicest person there is. Let me show you. When somebody is, not showing you the same, you're trying to relate to them. And that's when you get into that people pleasing mode. And I feel like some of you are maturing and you're understanding, like, nah, that I am a nice person. I can't change who I am, but at the same time, I could be selective as to who I give it to. And I need people to, meet me on the same page. Who was I talking to about this? I forget who I was talking to about this, but I was like, you don't go to people like, hey, this is me, with arms open wide, and then people just come to you with their arms folded. It's like you have to match that person's energy. If they come to you with their arms folded, that's the way you come as well, until you feel comfortable. So a lot of people are trying to figure out, well, how do I not change? I can't change myself. You don't have to change yourself. You're naturally a nice person. You're generous. Don't change yourself. Just change who you give that energy to. That's all. Some of you are getting that now. Yeah, you're definitely looking back at how people have taken advantage of you. With Neptune and Jupiter here in Pisces in your 6th house, you're looking back at, some of the things you've done for people, how you've been around for them, how you've been there for them, how you looked out for them, you know what I'm saying? Or how you spent a lot of time with people, and you're realizing that, it was because you was in a different mind state. You've outgrown this connection. You've outgrown these relationships where they are. And since they're not changing, it's time for you to change. And that's what you're realizing. So that's what I got for you guys. I hope that this was something that helped out. I will also recommend checking out last month's astrology read to see if anything in there resonates now. I'm sorry about the dog out there. But if anything resonates now that maybe didn't when you first watched it, and then watch this one at the end of November. All right? Make sure you subscribe to all my channels. All my information's in the box below. I wish you the best, Libra, and I'll see you in the next reading. Later.